record to the to your computer. So if you want to keep the chat, you would need to print it. And I think we've done that in the past. Gabrielle, for roll call.
Yeah.
But I know you've printed it in the past.
Mm-hmm. I saved it.
Oh, you saved it? Okay.
But you have to save it. You can't set up to save it in the beginning, so it's just saved. You have to save it all at the end, which I thought I did last month, but I can't find it. But I haven't really looked that hard because I just got the message from Victoria. So.
Okay. You can, yeah, you can always print to PDF and it saves it as PDF. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're good. I see some attendees that should be panelists. I'll let Victoria kind of assist with her.
Yeah, Chris needs to be moved over.
I'll do that. Oh, so she did that. Okay. No. Well, Curtis, yes, because Curtis, police officer, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, Chris.
Hey. So I only see myself on here. Where's everybody? Oh, wait, switch screens.
Your view, yeah.
Okay.
Chris, did you go somewhere fun?
Washington, D.C.
For fun?
Yeah, it was friends and family. It's wonderfully green back there, you know.
Oh.
They've had all of our rain. And the city's so quiet because, you know, so many people work at home. You can drive anywhere, park anywhere, no traffic. It's nice. But the museums were largely closed, so.
Oh, yeah.
Gabrielle?
Yes.
Are you watching the chat also?
I am.
Okay, very good. Victoria was asking, so you'll watch the chat?
I didn't see anything from Victoria here. Hold on.
No, you don't know. She's in the back.
Oh yes, I'm watching the chat. I've got it up on my screen. I've got it up on my screen.
Okay.
Let's see. So do we have Tom's here, Gabrielle? Is Kevin online or?
And Malaya.
Malaya.
So we have 7 panelists and 4 attendees.
We noticed there is a lag time in the signing. I don't know if you did, Gabrielle, from signing into the meeting.
I'm sorry, there was no lag time.
No lag time on your time. Okay.
No.
Oh, we're kind of waiting for Kevin and Malaya.
Yeah.
Or do we know if they're coming tonight? We can start with it. We have
Malia
a
is definitely coming.
so.
She has her landscape report prepared.
Okay.
I heard her outside a half hour ago, so I'm sure she'll be here in a minute.
All right. Anybody know about Kevin?
Don't know.
Don't know. Okay. Well, it's 6:02, so we'll slowly start the meeting. I hope they show up before we get into lots of details. So I'll call the meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. On October 15th, 2020. And the first item is call to order. I just did that. And for the record, Kevin and Malaya are not yet with us, but when they come in, Victoria, you can mark them as present, assuming they come. So item 2 on the agenda is approval of previous meeting minutes. I don't think we have those. Is that right, Jake?
I'm reviewing them as today, so you'll get it shortly.
Okay, so we have none there. They'll be approved and posted when done. Then we'll move on to number 3, our not favorite topic. Nothing personal, Curtis, but there's good news down the pipeline, according to the newspaper. So maybe you can share us what's going on. So public safety, everybody.
As far as news down the pipeline, I'm not sure exactly which one you're referring to, but as far as COVID goes, we don't have any.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, as far as COVID goes, you know, I don't think I'm anticipating any changes with the university's response as far as, being open for next semester as far as in-person classes. And we're still sort of going as we have been, sort of status quo for the last month or so. So there hasn't really been any COVID-19 updates for us as of yet.
Okay.
As far as issues up in University Glen, I don't think there's been any significant issues up in University Glen that affects the community either. So everything's sort of
Well,
been
what I was
residents.
referring to was a newspaper story that in 2 weeks the county could move to, what is it, orange, the next less restrictive level. But that would not apply to the campus unless the campus decided that separately.
Yeah, so that would go through the Board of Trustees or the Chancellor's Office, which is right now are the ones that are giving the guidance out to all 23 Cal States. So
Okay.
I don't think our campus will be reopening as actively as far as like the regular public schools are in the city and county.
Jake, I don't know if anyone can answer, but if the county relaxes the COVID thing, I would think our restaurants, that would affect the 2 restaurants here in terms of now they can sit inside or whatever the rules allow.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
I don't
Don't
know.
know.
I don't know.
Okay. Gabriella, do you have a comment?
Me?
I thought you had a comment or something.
Chris, the CAG is going to discuss apparently rules and regs stuff
Okay.
next week. And I presume part of what we'll talk about is county regulations, how they affect state property and the restaurants that are on state property and
Stuff like that. Okay. All right, then, unless there's any questions for Curtis, he
I
gets.
have one.
Sure.
Curtis, in the last meeting or two, there's been a discussion about horseplay in University Glen. Have you guys resolved the horse situation?
We have been trying to work on it. I think I reported last month that Lieutenant Massey was reaching out with some campus folks about the possibility of changing signage or looking into legal action as far as being able to enforce things, but that's a process that has to take place. And then we were trying to make contact with key people at the ranches locally around the campus. It's just been a process of trying to find out who is actually in charge. So, but that is something that we have been looking into.
Okay, so you're still working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
There is
So,
the one.
wait, there's a question. So one of the attendees would like to know if the campus is still off limits for residents below Tortillas, below the town center.
It's still currently the same as it was last month, which is the main campus is not generally open to the public.
Any other questions, attendees? No? Okay.
I see Stanley put not generally. So for staff, students, faculty, people that have a reason to be on the campus, it is open. It's limited open for people that need to be here. So there are some classes still in effect, especially some of the labs where they sort of need to be in person. Some of like the physical arts, nursing lab, the actual lab room itself. There's certain things that are approved to be open. So for those students, staff, faculty member that need to be here, they can be here. But as far as University of Glen residents, riding bikes, walking dogs, the campus is not open.
And everyone on campus needs to wear a mask, correct? Whether they're riding a bike or walking? Is that correct?
Last I understood that in buildings, you're supposed to wear a mask if you're not in an independent room. And if you, outside would be as if you can't maintain distancing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hearing nothing else for Curtis, you are excused, my friend, quickly.
Have a good night.
Although you're welcome to hang around.
I'll hang out for a little bit.
All right. Moving on to item 4. This will be me and maybe Tom wants to chime in. Just a couple bullet notes, really. On everyone's ballot is, if you're registered to vote, is Measure O, which is really the only measure that we get to vote on other than state and federal elections. I told you about this last time that you may have gotten things in the mail. It's about cannabis being grown only in existing greenhouses, and it's clear that the hoops type structures out in front of the campus do not qualify as greenhouses, and therefore there would be no cannabis really anywhere near us. That's my understanding from Supervisor Park's office. Voting is underway, as everyone knows. I think the nearest ballot drop-off is Camarillo City Hall. There will be no on-site voting here as there was in previous elections. Everyone should know that by now. Clarifying political signs. Jake, I don't know if we could save this for you if you want. And then finally, Tom wrote a note to the county supervisor staff and got a pretty quick answer and had a nice chat. You want to share that with us, Tom?
Yeah, actually, partially because there's a county fire helicopter that's going over the very edge of campus here where I live and or the community multiple times a day, right down the same path. So partially just because it was a little annoying, and to test the county's recognition of us as a community, I wrote a letter actually to the city airport manager and copied the county assistant to Linda Parks just to see if they would react and help out. And they did. It was very good. Pleasant experience. I don't know if the county, Linda Parks assistant, what role she played, but the county agreed to move the flight for their helicopters that are on training missions, which is most of the flights that are coming over, move it further east, and that's that. So
Somebody is asking, was it the noise that was annoying?
yes, and it wasn't that bad, quite honestly. But it just seemed unnecessary.
There seems to be a lot more planes flying over the Glen lately.
Yeah. Well, in this case, these training sessions, they just had a specific route there. They constantly flew and they didn't need to. So that was it.
Any other questions? Attendees? Okay.
Jake, could you just give us the short version of if anyone wants to put a political sign up, what's
Basically, you can, my understanding is they can't be bigger than 4 square feet, and it needs to be put in your window. It can't be out in the common area or seen visually from your patio. And basically, if there are signs that are in the common area, say down by the, on Channel Islands, down by Camarillo, that in the past, I've just collected them.
So why would somebody put up a sign in their window if it's not supposed to be visible from the patio? I'm confused.
No, what I'm saying is that what the ground sublease says, that if there is a sign that is seen in the common area, right, that then it needs to be approved by the site authority.
Is that true for political signs?
We have asked
In an election year, I'm sorry.
Lori Nichols about that. I don't know whether Rosa has any update on that, but in the past, in the past, those signs, really there haven't been signs. The ones that I've run into are the ones, the ones they put up on the day kind of before the election, a couple of days, and councilmen and that kind of thing, and they put them down, by the DG path, on Channel Islands at Camarillo, and those being on state property as well as being in common area, I just pick them up, bring them back.
So
to
someone is
my office.
asking if having a flag from a patio is okay, and as far as I know,
There's the thing,
have a
the
flag.
ground sublease, here's where we are, the ground sublease, this is something that the rules and regulations, and we can talk more about, because in the ground sublease, it says that there shall be no flag poles, and
nothing attached to the house, the walls.
and so these are attached to the house. At the same time, there's been conversation about to display the flag, that it is usually taken, proper protocol would be is at sunset you take it down, and at sunrise you can display it. So at the present time, we are accommodating everyone by allowing the flags to be flown attached to individual homes. And basically we are at the present time saying exclusively United States flags.
So somebody just texted me asking if only you asked. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. I think that's it for county level issues. Moving on to Brightview. Whatever.
I don't think Brightview is here. I can kind of give an update on these two items. Is that several owners have brought it to our attention that particularly the leaf blowers get very loud when people are trying to teach or have communications in Zoom, including their children on Zoom. And so we are in conversation with Brightview on a couple of approaches. One would be is assuming they can get all of their leaf blowing done in the time, would be to have let leaf blowing or the use of leaf blowers, I would say, to not be between 8 in the morning till 11. And that would be the opportunity for most of the people that we've talked to that are teaching online or working with students online feel like from 8 to 11 is a reasonable time that that they can manage. And so that's what I'm pursuing with Brightview. And so that's where we are. And my understanding is that the lawnmowers on Monday and Tuesday are less of an issue than the leaf blowers. And the other thing that we do have some other options that Brightview has talked about regarding, they have some leaf vacuums, they have electric blowers, all of those have.
We have to have a greener option.
That, well, they're a greener option and a less loud option.
Right.
And so, so we're in conversation. This is not, we've had this conversation with Brightview several times here recently. And that's kind of.
Somebody's asking, why can't we use a rake? I'm all for using no leaf blowers myself, but.
We got it. So we're continuing to talk about what is the most effective way to do that and acknowledge that everyone is home because of the COVID directives.
So, and Paula is asking if we can once again ask Brightview to please not blow the leaves up onto the porches, which is very common in the townhomes.
Okay, we can do that. Thank you. I'll remind them of that.
Jake, we haven't talked about it in a long time. I'm not sure. Was there, we used to have the street cleaning on opposite days of the week, different sides of the street.
Doesn't work that
still
way.
Going on?
No, the street cleaner was with the university.
Right.
And
Okay.
Brightview is basically getting the leaves out of the street gutters as they accumulate.
Okay.
And my recollection is that they're doing a much more expeditious job of getting the leaves up, you know, than was done previously with the street cleaner.
Okay.
And
It's
so
not as bad so far as it's been.
well, they keep going. They're keeping after it pretty well. So I think giving them some kind of time of the day that they can do that, they can do a lot of their trimming and that other, you know, in the early part of the day from 8 to 11, and then they can make noise afterwards. So.
And Mary Walter really appreciates your willingness to communicate with Brightview about these issues. I believe she is a teacher.
Yes.
And she has a question about the change in landscape in her area. It appears to be arbitrary. That is, the folks who complain receive an upgrade, but not everyone. This seems inequitable.
I appreciate that, Mary. I think where we are right now is that we're working with a couple of things, is that we're working very hard to get the irrigation up and running. And at the same time, a lot of the effort that we are focused on is people who haven't had a lot of attention to landscaping, particularly along Landing Cove. And so, yes, there are a few people that have I don't like the word, have requested that landscaping be done. And from our standpoint, we want to move things along, and at the same time giving to how would you say, giving to owners that we do only have about so much money right now. And so it's like we're trying to move forward and get the landscaping back to an acceptable level, because it had dropped so much in the past. And so that's kind of, it may seem a little piecemeal because we're kind of going from one day to the next and trying to get it back together. I think this leads right into a comment about the reseeding project and an update on that. Brightview, the history on that was that last spring we had done as part of the contract, Brightview's contract was to have fertilizer, and they made the recommendation to use an herbicide to kill the broadleaf weeds that are in the grass. And so we did do that, and so there were some areas that got pretty thin, and all along the intention of Brightview was to come back and to reseed the areas that were thin, okay? And so as the irrigation has come more online and we're more, after they got the main repairs, we're still working on reviewing all the repairs, but they said all the repairs have been done, that then they wanted to move forward and increase the water, or could increase the water. And so that allowed them to say, yes, they could go ahead and plant the grass and put what's called the mix, potting mix that goes on top, and do all of that. And so that's what they've gone ahead with. And I've appreciated people who bring it to my attention that there are areas around their individual spot. I have really not been, how would you say, walking the property to say, yeah, do it here, do it there. Brightview is much closer on the ground, knowing where the spots are. And if anyone feels like that they're missing a spot, feel free to email me, and I'll put in a brief work order for Eric with Brightview to address it, because they're continuing to address it as they move through the community.
People are being informed about these decisions. I answered through the HAC meetings and through you at the CAM office. If you have another way of informing people, they would like to know about who's being phased into the new landscaping and at what time, I guess. And somebody else is asking, what is the process to improve the landscaping around their property? I would suggest contacting Jake's office.
Yeah.
And is there a point of contact within the HAC for landscaping? I would say Malia.
Raise your hand.
Huh?
Malia.
I would say Malia, who's the chair of the landscape committee. And of course, you're willing to, we would love to have more participants with the committee. And we do have some new members, by the way.
I don't know, maybe Malia, the people are asking what your email is.
Yes,
maybe we
they
can
are.
talk, and we can include it in one of the e-blasts when we talk about the landscape, so they know how to get a hold of you.
I just chatted my personal email address.
Okay.
I don't want too much traffic going to my work email.
Understood. Okay. And so we can do that. Okay. So that kind of is where
It's in
we
the
are.
chat now.
The replanting, yes, we're also talking about how we move forward with what we have a price and is in the budget for the refurbishing the phase 1, which is along Anacapa and Landing Cove. And we're still talking with the landscape committee about, how that may look and how that gets how we use that money, or whether we don't use that money at the present time.
So,
what's the most effective way to use it?
Mary Walter is asking for all of the HAC members' contact information. I don't know how the HAC feels about that.
Well, I don't tell you what, Mary, what we'll do is let's have the HAC members have a powwow, and decide whether, maybe it's everyone, or whether it's through Chris, or whether there's someone else, that wants to kind of be the point person for the 5 of you.
I did
Okay.
respond to you next door, Mary. I've responded to you, and I responded to your husband several times.
Okay, shall
All
we
right.
go on? Okay.
Yeah, we're moving on to item 6, committee reports, and welcome to Malaya being here. Thank you.
No.
And tell us about our ghoulish Halloween parties.
Okay, so thank you all for joining tonight. For those of you that have not seen the plans for Operation Safe Halloween via COVID, Jake sent out a newsletter last week, which we are now providing on a monthly basis. Attached to that email was also a flyer regarding all of the events that we are planning for the 13 days leading up to Halloween. So if you don't recall seeing that email, please check your spam or junk email folders, or maybe you deleted it. But our monthly newsletter not only provides a list of events that we are planning for the holiday season, but it also provides a link to sign up for those events as well. So there's lots of information available to you via the email that was sent out last week. If you
All
have
right.
any questions, please feel free to email me. I chatted my email address. I'll repeat it. It's meliahopper@yahoo.com. That's MELEAHOPPER@yahoo.com. So if you have any questions, or you didn't see the newsletter or the flyer with all of the details and the sign up link for the activities, I'd be happy to share that. Stanley, I already provided my email address 2 or 3 times in the chat, so it's there somewhere. And that's all I have in terms of the social committee for now.
And we're not required to follow things on Nextdoor. We're not paid. We're volunteers. We're not required to monitor Nextdoor, the Nextdoor app. So, which I rarely go on because I find it to be very aggressive. So, okay.
Thank you, Malaya, and thanks to Maisha also, who you guys are putting together a Halloween, COVID Halloween, and then you get to move on to Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm sorry, Chris. I should have added for those that would like to participate in donating candy and crafts. Tomorrow is the last day to donate candy or crafts, and there's a bin in the leasing office provided for that purpose. So other than that, that's all I have to share. But again, if you need a copy of the newsletter or the flyer regarding the events for Halloween, don't hesitate to email me at my personal email address, and I will get a copy of that out to you immediately.
Okay, and either Malaya or Gabrielle, if you want to. The next item is our landscape committee. We've heard some already, and the community garden, I think, has.
The community garden?
Yeah, what news there, as well as other things?
We discussed the community garden at length, given the way it's currently run, and really feel that it needs more oversight, that there are many residents that are being left out of the ability to get a plot, being left out of the wait list. So we decided to form a community garden committee. There is an email. I will type it into the chat in a second. We are going to have the plot. I have the plot map. There is no waiting list. Whatever waiting list may or may not have existed was incomplete and inaccurate. So we're starting from scratch. I have the plot map. I will give a copy to DePaula and to Jake, and the committee will also have access to the map. Everyone will have access to the map. And apparently, Malia is trying to set up Rent Cafe for a variety of other uses. So hopefully it will be on the website as well. Right now, all the plots are taken. There are a few things that need to be ironed out, a few issues with the old garden that need to be ironed out. We're going to do a 2-week, if you want to be put on the wait list for the garden, you can email at universityglen communitygarden@gmail.com, and ask to be put on the wait list. After the end of the 2 weeks, everyone who requests to be put on the wait list will go into a lottery, and the wait list will be formed. From then on out, it'll be on the timely basis. So the next person who then requests will be put on in the next. But for the first 2 weeks, we'll collect everyone who wants to be on the wait list, and we'll do a lottery. I'm sorry, hold on. Hold on, sorry, guys. So what was the other thing? So we are actively going to look into expanding the garden and look at that cost. We need to do it fairly quickly so we can get it to the bag committee. It will require probably digging and leveling the ground and putting down a wire mesh to prevent the gophers from coming up. And so, but we would like to expand it. There is a lot of interest, and it is open to apartment residents as well. So DePaula will be sending out a notification to the residents of the apartment that they are also welcome to be put on the wait list. Yes, Stanley, the info will be sent to all residents. I can include the contact info for the, thank you, Maria. I'm sorry, I'm reading chat at the same time I'm speaking. Okay, so that is where we are at right now. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question that's related to the garden, community garden. So a couple months ago, there's discussion about painting the curb area closest to the garden green. So for short-term parking, so people can bring their stuff and load and unload. Is that in the works still, or did I get that wrong?
No, you got it right. I think it hasn't been pursued. I think they've been working at at other things right now. So as it develops, it sounds like that would be something as the expansion goes forward that would also be taken into consideration. Initially,
I gave you the wrong email address, people. I forgot the word garden.
The part of it, Tom, is that in talking with the apartments about it, they weren't real excited about changing the status of it because there are apartment people that park there on a regular basis.
Okay, so that'll be something to continue to talk about, at least. All right, moving on. I think community garden or anything else from landscape?
So
Yeah.
Stanley's saying that people can walk and get exercise. I believe they were talking about when they're hauling large pallets of dirt and mulch. So, and wood. So I don't think it's a matter of people being lazy. I think it's when they're hauling very heavy.
Yeah.
And okay, so moving on.
All right, I'm going to move on to committee reports and finance, which will be.
Hold
Sorry.
on. Chris, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a report out for landscape.
Sure.
And
Sorry.
from the community garden. So just real quickly, I wanted to report out that the tree removal has been completed. And I'm happy to announce that we have added Kevin Ben to our committee. Kevin has a lot of knowledge and a lot of passion around improving our landscape here in the Glen. So we're super excited to have him be part of our team. He's already begun working with Lazaro to identify ill-working sprinklers in areas that need more water. So hopefully we'll see some improvement in that area in the near future. I'm also coordinating with Jake to obtain a report out on a monthly basis of where we stand in terms of tickets. So a quick report out. This isn't going to be as thorough because I just reached out to Jake today for this information. But in the month of September, there were 32 new landscaping requests, 20 of which are still in progress. So I'm going to look for ways to work with Brightview to see how we can speed up the turnaround on some of these items, and also review the contract to see what the SLAs are for the outstanding requests. But beginning next month, I'll be working with Jake to obtain a report which will include the following information: the number of new tickets from the previous month, the number of tickets closed out from the previous month, the number of new tickets that are still open from the previous month, as well as the number of older tickets that remain open past 1 month, and the reasons for the delay in completion. I'll also be looking for information regarding the sprinkler repair plan and scheduling, the tree trimming plan and scheduling, the landscape refresh plan and scheduling, the landscape refresh pilot program plan and scheduling, the replanting for the tree removal plan and scheduling. It sounds like that needs to be requested by the homeowner, so I'll be obtaining more information on that. And then also a previous ask of how we can basically interface both the Yardi system and the Rent Cafe system. So instead of having to email any of the HAC members directly, namely myself, with landscaping requests, they would have the opportunity to submit these requests via a ticketing system directly on the Rent Cafe platform. So more to come on all those topics, but that's where we stand for this month.
That's a lot.
Mhm.
I like to get stuff done.
Very good.
And that is all I have. Thank you so much, Chris.
So Mary, we already said we were going to get together and discuss about the emails of the HAC members. So, but I do know that I've given you your husband my email, or Patrick, if you, your boyfriend or your husband got my email. So in the past. So okay, moving on. Anybody?
I was muted. This is Chris. So let me move on to finance and budget. I have a few things to go over. One is, the first one on the bullet list there is that this presentation of insurance, I think, is yet to be scheduled. Correct, Jake? We haven't scheduled a date yet, but soon.
The situation is that Rosa and I have put together the declaration pages that we have, and we will be uploading it to the UG website shortly. And then we have one declaration that we're expecting about the earthquake insurance that's coming after the 20th. So at that point, that's kind of the last piece that we want to have in place before we start scheduling the time where we can talk about it.
So if I recall, what we talked about was that all the declarations would be available to everyone. There'd be an e-blast and so forth. And then we might accept questions and kind of prepare a Q&A presentation follow-up on Zoom that would be to be scheduled, you know, maybe 2 weeks later, and or post answers to the questions, do both, and just really try by the end of the year to have everybody up to speed on exactly what insurances are in force, et cetera, here at the Glen. Okay, so that's taken a while, but it's good news. I have my next item. I'll take a few minutes just to go over. This is the report on the budget and our actual expenses. And what I have is a draft first quarter of this fiscal year, July, August, and September. And this will be eventually available per the usual process through Jake. But I wanted to share because it's generally good news. So this is 3 months of year-to-date actual expenses compared to our budget for 1/4 of this fiscal year, the first quarter of the year. Keep in mind that we have unusual expenses due to COVID, and this is the driest season of the year in terms of watering. And also the actuals may not reflect, you know, all bills that may be lagging a week or two or haven't been paid or something to that effect. So while it's a useful exercise, it's not absolutely exact, but I'll just go down the major categories. As we would expect, revenues are almost exactly as anticipated, meaning our fees and so forth are all being collected. There's really no serious delinquencies other than a handful. Management fee is a little bit under the budget by about $750. Insurance, including the new earthquake premiums, is also under budget by about $4,000 year to date. But again, you know how insurance premiums are paid in lump sums, and so I'm sure eventually it'll be pretty much on target. Repair and maintenance is running about 1% under budget. Just not having the number of repairs and things or their costs that the budget anticipated. That's a difference of about $1,000, $80,000 spent versus $81,000 budgeted. Utilities is a different matter, and basically it's recycled water. We are about 24% over budget on water, and a little bit over, also 2% over on trash removal. So the water continues to be our biggest kind of a headache. There are some issues about how the cost is allocated between the campus and us, and we're working on that as we speak. Just to give you an idea of the year-to-date actual for all our recycled water which is the irrigation, is just under 39,000, but our budget was 31,004. So we're pretty over. On the other hand, if we get some good rain and we can cut back, but we have increased the irrigation and so forth. So that's just, we just got to pay for the water. Overall utilities, including gas, electric, and everything else, is only over by about 4%. Landscaping is a little bit under budget, and therefore total operating expenses come out to be 1.3% under budget. Now that, again, that's just actual versus budgeted for the first quarter. I had a couple things, I've done this before when I was an HOA president. I tried to look at individual items, and I wrote a couple questions to Jake, and I didn't give much warning. So, but just to give you an idea of some of the things that are in the budget that we want to pay attention to. And one of them is what rate are we paying to Edison for our electricity, especially our street lights? As you know, if you mark for your own individual electric service, if you mark 100% renewable, you're paying a little bit more versus, I think, whatever the alternatives are. And at what tier, renewable tier, are we paying for things like streetlights? Streetlights are $5,000 a month, so it's not a small number. I know some cities have, even though the citywide has opted for the 100% renewable, they kind of return to the lower rate for things like streetlights, because they could just save a fair amount of money just with a lower rate. Anyway, so that's a question. Another is, and this may have been answered before, Tom, you may know, there's a line item fee of $4,700 for CSU facilities fee. And that was check number 2260, I think in September. And just kind of an understanding, what does that cover? CSU facilities fee. And then finally, just for everyone's information, so far we've spent something like $11,000 extra for COVID cleaning at the pools and elsewhere. And even with that extra spending, we're under budget. So that's good news. And that's where I will stop on that. We are meeting the Budget Advisory Committee. Hi, Kevin. We're going to meet tomorrow and begin to look at next fiscal year and watch some of these items like street light, electric bills, and water and so forth for next year's budget as well. And finally, for me, or all of us, including Rosie, who gets stuck with a lot of things, we are working on this, trying to come up with this master share list of facilities and expenses shared with either Cal State or the site authority or even some other, maybe the state itself, and figure out, once and for all, what is the appropriate split on a shared facility and so forth, and how to make that just a routine thing. What I'm checking now is what I put together was a list of everything I could think of, but I want to cross-check that with the reserve studies and use the same language and use the same numbering system or their identification system. So those items that are in a reserve study will appear as they do in the reserve study. And then other things like the water tanks, which are not in the reserve studies, will be on this list. And the question is, who owns it and who's responsible for some of these things, and just trying to figure that out. And I think I'll stop there. Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add? Okay, nothing. We do have a budget meeting tomorrow.
So,
Gabrielle, did you? Or?
Before the
Questions?
question gets buried, because it's getting buried with other remarks. People are asking, why are we not in a regular Zoom meeting and a webinar, and where they can actively participate themselves? So I'd like to know why this format and not an open meeting.
Oh, so you're not going to answer that?
I'm asking the question that is
Yeah.
posed before me, and
I think with Zoom, it's
Yeah.
hard to moderate meetings the same way you can in a live interaction.
Let's understand that some of our previous meetings went for over 2 hours. We're trying to get through the agenda without being a burden on people who just want to listen in. And at the end of the agenda, we're still here for questions. Maybe at that point, those who still are remaining and wish to interact, maybe there's a way to switch back to the regular format. Once we get through the agenda, we usually answer your questions during the agenda. But then Gabrielle is doing a great job of answering individual typed questions and reading those back, which seems to be working. We really haven't had anyone question this until today on our 5th or 6th meeting. So I think we'll continue to do it this way initially. By all means, type in your questions, and when we get to the end of the agenda today, hopefully within 20 minutes or so, let's see if we can pop back to an open session for those who wish to remain. Okay, if that's agreeable to everyone else. We haven't talked about that in advance. We'll see where we are at the end. Okay, so that's one last thing on finance and budget. Tom, your most extraordinary work of listing all your research and so forth is not forgotten. It's on the list. But, it's a long list, as you know, and it is on the bag list as we go tomorrow. So now we'll go to rules, and either Tom or Gabrielle, you want to take off there? Oh, you want me to answer this first one?
I'm the new chair for the rules committee.
Okay. Do you mind if I go on your first bullet there? I mean, I put it there, right? This request of the general counsel. Let me explain that quickly. This goes back to continuing discussion, questions, confusion, even over what laws and so forth apply in our community, since we are state property and not not considered part of the county in some ways. And as you heard from the police department, there are certain things they cannot enforce because there's no state law regarding horses in parks or whatever, where there might be in a county or a city. So I drafted a letter. The HAC has seen it. It's sort of out there. What I was proposing was to simply send it to the site authority for their November 3rd meeting, not trying to make a big deal about it, but it basically asks for a legal opinion by the CSU General Counsel's office in Long Beach, which is the general counsel to the site authority per the state legislation from 1998, and ask for what's called a written legal opinion put together by an attorney, should run for several pages, of what is the jurisdictional issue, what is the jurisdiction story here regarding what laws apply, what don't, and so forth, just so we have it in writing. And maybe it's only 1 page or 2 because it's pretty straightforward. I don't know, I'm not an attorney, and this just seems like a reasonable request to help both the residents and the site authority and the campus people understand what laws apply and what laws don't apply. So because the site authority meets on November 3rd, which is in 2 weeks or so, and then it would not meet again until next year, I would ask the HAC if your consensus or a vote here or a motion to send this letter to the site authority addressed to all of them. And it's simply a request for a clarification of our legal status, which won't be something they'll turn around quickly. It might take couple months, for the legal counsel's office to write it up and review it and send it back to us and so forth. Any question or discussion before? Or?
Well, I would make a motion that we forward your letter, Chris, to
Okay.
the site authority for their November 3rd meeting. And that someone present the letter during the public comments section.
Okay. And I would be happy to do that unless someone else wants to, but and I wouldn't make a long presentation. It's basically just a request.
So Mary is asking if the ground sublease is being revised, are all parties being allowed to weigh in on the revision?
That's not relevant at the moment. Let's come back to that question.
I'll answer that in a minute.
Okay. I need a second on the motion if anyone else, or I can second it, can I? No, I made the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, Kevin, thank you. And all in favor or just you?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'll prepare that and copy, through Jake, everyone will get copies and so forth. And again, so that was my item. So back to you, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, one last comment on that letter. So I would also like to put a bug in everyone on the HAC in their ear, in that if this letter and just kind of the process doesn't seem to be working very well, I'd like to recommend a couple months down the road that maybe we bump this up one level, but we'll see how it goes, and take it to the CSU Board of Trustees meeting. Quite honestly, they own the land, so there are certain things we're looking at trying to regulate that I think only they can deal with. So that's just a bug in everyone's ear. We'll kind of wait and see how it goes. That Board of Trustees group seems to meet monthly. So anyway, that's about all I have to say
So
about.
Josh is asking what the letter is about.
Chris, you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. Again, this is a letter addressed to the site authority, and it simply says, please have your general counsel prepare a legal opinion that reviews the various jurisdictions that have, the various government agencies, state, county, or some other one that have some type of jurisdiction over the University Glen residential community, which is, I think, not a campus, and list what are those regulatory or jurisdictional. For example, does the county, we're deferring to the county for health-related issues. Is that by choice or is that by law? And speed limits are by state law, not county, and so forth. So we just want to know, and it's just a simple request letter.
Yeah, and it's appropriate because the Rules and Regs Committee is looking at recommending changes to our ground sublease rules and regulations. And it's helpful for us to know what state or other governmental laws, regulations are already in place, so we don't contradict, or maybe we don't even need to get involved because the issue's already covered. So.
And Stanley wants to know what changes.
So the Rules and Regulations Committee met a week or two ago. We went through a series of changes to the document to the Rules and Regulations document as it exists today. I'll be finalizing that and taking it to the HAC, and I think we'll just have to decide how we want to.
I'm sorry, I was talking to my computer.
How we want to handle it from there in terms of putting it out for public comment. So I'm not quite sure what the answer is. We've never done this before, but it seems appropriate to have some kind of public comments role to see what the reactions are. And we're looking at a lot of changes for common area behavior. We're looking to consolidate rules and regulations on a series of areas where there are separate documents and bring them all into one place, like the dog park, their tot lot rules, and so forth. So we're looking to just gather all these disparate documents and put them into one place so that you know where to go to look for rules and regulations. Some of the rules and regulations are pretty much Kennedy Wilson's to Drive because they manage the amenities such as the pool, the tot lot. It's their amenity on their lot, so we're looking for them to ensure their rules are consistent. And then we'll synchronize those with other common area rules, and again, bring it to the HAC and decide how to put it in front of a public forum.
So there seems to be a lot of questions about what exactly is being proposed, but I mean, we're kind of far off from that right now.
Yeah, there's a varying number of things. So just stand by and give it a month or two. Well, I mean,
Okay, they're asking if all the proposed changes will be shared with the community, and I think the answer is, of course, they will be.
Yeah. And I would think we would ask, we would have a public
I
comment.
don't think he said to stand by and stand back. He just said that the committee is still trying to work things out, Mary. And, you know, we would love to have you join if you would like to join.
Well, exactly. In fact, if anyone's concerned, or
Sorry, Mary, I thought you were.
let me know, and be happy for you to join the committee. But I can tell you, yeah, it's just a kind of wide-ranging set of changes. It's not extensive. It's not, but it does cover a breadth of things ranging from use of skateboards to potentially use of fire rings. So as soon as we get that put together, then we'll put it in front of the HAC, and then there'll be some kind of public comments. And keep in mind, in the end, these are only recommendations. We have no authority to make any changes. It's up to Jake and the site authority to decide what to accept, not accept, or to modify.
Okay. Moving on, almost finished with committee reports, and then we can revisit some of these after Jake gets to give his presentation. Community Advisory Group, I think that's Tom and Gabrielle again.
Yeah, so last month's meeting was kind of unusual. We spent a lot of time talking about rules and regulations. The site authority brought into that meeting, or maybe it was the chair of the CAG, they brought in legal counsel to the meeting to provide an introductory discussion about how we are regulated, managed, and so forth. And it was a spirited discussion, I'll call it that. And we talked about Chris's letter asking legal to take a look at how we're governed, and that provided some more spirited discussion. And in the end, a couple days after the CAG meeting, the chair of the CAG advised me that legal counsel has asked that we do not further take that letter or deal with that letter within the CAG. So I'm a little confused about what that all means. It sounds like, based upon the agenda we have for the meeting next week, that we will indeed be talking about rules and regulations again. So I'll be interested to see what viewpoint is being brought into that meeting. So that's pretty much it. Gabrielle, any?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I have nothing to add. Thank you.
Okay. Look, gang, it's not even 7 o'clock yet. We're really doing well. We're down to Jake. Oh, Jake, do we have any property improvements? I don't think so.
No, we do not.
Paula's asking, why was council brought in?
Well,
I do not know.
we don't know. Yeah.
Totally unexpected.
So we can always come back to these questions. Let's give Jake his podium here to give us the report. And
Okay.
thank you.
Just wanted to kind of expound on some of the COVID updates. The protocol for wearing masks and social distancing, minimum 6 feet, remains in effect throughout University Glen. Number one. Number two, since the meeting, we talked about going from code purple to code red, which meant that we could reopen the fitness centers. And so the fitness centers are open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And to work out in one of the fitness centers, you need to have, it's by appointment only. You need to get on the appointment program, the SCETA program, and sign up. And they're 4 hours, they're hour-long workout sessions, and right now it's, I believe it's 4 that hours that people can sign up for. It's understood that you wear masks at all times except when you're working on using a treadmill, and that you're requested, or the protocol is that you sanitize your work area when you're done with it. Okay, and in the fitness centers, the distancing is 12 feet between users, as opposed to 6 feet on just general socially. And so the other part, in an abundance of caution, UGCAM has our cleaning crew come twice a day. One of the times at 6 o'clock after the gyms close, and then again during the day itself between 10 and 10:30. And there's additional expense for the 6 o'clock, after 6 o'clock, but the 10 to 10:30 is part of the cleaning crew that comes and cleans the pools initially, and that kind of thing. Okay. And so that's regarding the fitness centers. Okay. Next item, regarding the tot lots. With it going to code red, it mentioned that community playgrounds could be opened. And so we've opened the tot lot. It opens, the hours of the tot lot are from 9 in the morning to dusk. And with daylight savings time coming up, that'll be a little bit earlier. And with the protocols, which are on signage that is at the tot lot, a couple of the highlights of that are that all children over the age of 2 and adults must wear masks at all times. And to maintain social distancing practices, a minimum of 6 feet between family groups. And then, in an abundance of caution, we're having the tot lots sanitized twice a day, once right before 9 o'clock by the same cleaning crew that does the pools. We'll have the pool monitor, as we're paying her for a time, she will sanitize it between 1:30 and 2 o'clock. And so that's kind of the schedule for the tot lot as well. Okay. Next item. We received.
Are we still talking about COVID? Because I have COVID questions.
I'm still talking about COVID. Okay. I have a couple more things on COVID. Okay. That we had received from the student government, a concern given to us through the site authority, that the students were concerned about us not wearing, the University of Glen not wearing masks when they're outside. And because by the chancellor's directive, whenever students leave the building, they need to put masks on. Okay. And so we've been in conversation with the site authority, and one of the areas that overlaps here is the town center, because there are students that are living in the student housing on the upper levels of the town center. And so it would seem like that overlap is something that we need to be aware of. The students are required to wear their masks, and to date, we have the option, if you're by yourself, that you can walk, but when you get close to people, that then, social distance with masks. And if you go into the restaurants or bookstore, that then you put your mask on. So that is, just bring it to your attention. So if you see students, you may be aware that they may be looking at you going, why you may not be wearing a mask. That's the reason. Okay. The other thing that has come up is that I'll be sending out an e-blast tomorrow, is that there is a link for the university personnel that if they test positive, that they can inform the university with a positive test. And so we're giving that information out so that there is a mechanism that if that becomes something that's necessary, there is a mechanism by where the university personnel can be made aware of that kind of situation. Other questions?
Yes, there are. Just one quick second. First, Stanley wants to know if he can have a sign, a COVID sign. I said yes, like the ones that were put up before. Yes, to contact you, and you'll have maintenance come put a COVID sign up in an area where there's high child traffic.
Okay,
Playing
that's
without
fine.
masks.
Yes, we can do that. Yes.
And they asked if they can call the police on children who are playing unmasked. I said, you can call the police on anyone you'd like, but I don't know what the police, I'm going to turn that over to you, Jim.
At the present time, it has to do with family groups, and within a family group, they can manage that the way they want to as far as their family group. In regard to other families and other children, it is up to the responsible adults to provide protection to their children and protection of their children to other family groups.
So, and people are saying, so students can come into the Glen, but we can't go on the campus. And the answer is yes, the campus is under a mandate from the governor and we are public property. So we're state property, but we're public property. So we can't.
Right, a residential community separate from the campus. That is
Right,
true.
so yes, the students can come. Mary, can you email me? I'm trying to keep up with the chat. So I sent you my email.
Okay.
Jake,
Other
question.
questions?
The comment from students about residents not wearing masks, as I understood from our police officer earlier, you only need to wear masks outdoors if you cannot socially distance, right?
Okay, that's what he's saying. My understanding is that the university, that they are directed from the chancellor's office to wear a mask when they're outside.
Okay, well that's not what the officer just said. So
I understand.
they need to get in sync, because I've heard two things tonight.
Acknowledged. Okay. We talked about the Halloween. Regarding the work orders that were done this month, we had 76 work orders. Malaya mentioned the 32 landscaping. That was the highest number. Then we had 19 pest control. Lots of rodents are around these days, and spiders. And then we had 9 electrical or lighting, 6 painting, 3 concrete trip hazard, 3 townhouse window work orders, 1 townhouse HVAC work order, 1 cleaning work order, 1 garage door problem work order, and 1 plumbing. So that adds up to 76.
Jake, what was the HVAC work order?
It had to do that there was a request to have, from a townhouse owner, regarding having the dryer vent cleaned.
And what's our stance on that?
We're working on it. This was the first one that I had run across. And so where we are right now is that, you know, just as for the ground sublease, it says, yes, it is to be covered by the town, the reserves, okay, the maintenance and all of that. And what I have talked with Rosa and the site authority about is that until we have an actual protocol, you know, saying that, okay, yes, this is covered, until we have a list of 3 contractors and a determination of what is a reasonable amount not to exceed, you know, in regard to any of these, until we get that protocol worked out, that particularly when it comes to something like the exhaust or the vent on a dryer, because there is a potential fire hazard, that we have directed them to go ahead and to have the work done and submit the receipt to the CAM office. And I will submit it to the site authority for authorization to reimburse from the townhouse reserves. And I am working with Rosa, to put those protocols in place, because as we know that within a little over a year ago, the determination that yes, the windows and yes, garage doors and ductwork, that kind of thing are per the ground sublease, the responsibility of the site authority to pay to oversee, to be paid from the townhouse reserves. That was not how it had been handled in the past by the management. And so we're working very actively to get those protocols together, with really the intention is to work out a way to manage it so that the homeowner takes the maximum amount of responsibility with the support and direction with appropriate contractors and reimbursable not to exceeds and those kind of things that keep the work done, and at the same time allow the owners to get the work done without having to go through making the CAM office the project manager for every little thing, which increases the amount of work, and also potentially additional fees to the owners to get that work taken care of. So we're working on that.
Okay, Mary asked, said in spring she complained about cars being parked next to her patio and her barbecue and nothing happened. And I'll let you respond, but I responded by saying that spring was in the middle of COVID and there was a lot of lax parking enforcement. It's now being more strictly enforced. Paula said, no, it's not. I said, I've heard Lieutenant Massey today, they're enforcing it on a complaint basis. They're still being very sensitive to the COVID situation. But if people complain about cars not having been moved for a long period of time, they will address it. So that's where they're at, but they're still trying to be cognizant of the fact that many people are home working.
Yeah, understood. Thank you.
So
let me continue. I'm not done.
Yes.
Are you done, Gabrielle?
yeah, we're caught up.
Okay. The other thing, wanted to mention a little bit about the irrigation, that just reiterate that we're working with Brightview to make sure that we put eyes on all of the sprinkler heads and the controllers, so that as we move forward with them with the irrigation maintenance contract that we have signed, we're waiting for it to go into effect at the point that they actually prove to us that everything is working as it should. So we're working on that. We continue to send out, CAM office continues to send out weekly schedules of what Brightview is scheduled to do. We do it on Mondays, so that's generally mowing days are Monday and Tuesday, and then the locations where they're going to be doing trimming and that kind of thing, and so-called detail work and leaf collection, and those that we receive the updated schedule on Monday, so that we're trying to make it so that it is more accurate. Okay, we mentioned the reseeding. Yeah, okay. Okay, we talked about the blowers, balance, okay. The tree removal, the majority of the tree removal project is complete. They still have, Brightview still needs to come back and complete the trimming of the trees, particularly the question of the black sumac in the alleys behind Kyler Harbor and either side between Kyler and Santa Cruz Island and Kyler and Fry's, that they're coming back and doing that. It'll probably be, well, we know it's going to be after Halloween, before Thanksgiving, hopefully the week of November 9th, okay? And for those that are townhouse owners, we're working at getting the gutters cleaned after Halloween and before Thanksgiving. We're working with the same contractor that's doing the apartments. And so we're hoping we're going to start that tentatively the week of November 9th, and that should take a couple of weeks. So those are just kind of heads up that, so you'll see more information on that when we get to the e-blast for November. Okay? That's
Okay,
what,
are we at general questions?
mhm.
Are we at a gen, or do we have something else?
Jake, Jake, I have a question. It's, I don't know if this is a bad question or kind of where it fits, but what was not discussed tonight was our reserve accounting situation. And I don't know if I should put in a public records request, but I personally would like to see a report that shows our reserve balance at the start of last fiscal year and the end of last fiscal year and how those funds were spent. And then,
I believe, I think I can answer that. The reconciliation is complete.
okay,
Okay, that yes, and where it is right now is my understanding is that Stephanie is signing off on it. Rosa has it. The operations part of it is complete. We're ready to post it, and I'm talking with Rosa about where exactly we post it, because I thought we posted it on the Glen site, but I believe it's on the site authority, the CSUCI site authority site under there. So there's a little footwork I need to do in the next couple of days, but there is a reconciliation for the reserves included with the operations.
okay, and that you're planning to make that accessible online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's imminent.
I would like to suggest some signs similar to the dog that ask people to be aware of their behavior, both in terms of noise and COVID-19. Can I address Mary? Mary, I thought your husband asked about where he could get signs, and I'm making an assumption he's your husband. I'm sorry. I apologize. That he could ask where he could get signs, and I let him know where to get them. So again, contact Jake if you want signs in your area, and Jake will make sure maintenance gets them out to you for social distancing and the like.
Could
Are
I?
we moving on to general
Yeah.
questions?
So
Jake,
any
are you?
general question?
Well, before we go there, could I make one last clarification? So I'm representing the HAC and the CAG. Based upon last month's meeting, I was going to go back with old outstanding issues. They've asked me for a much longer list. I'm assuming based upon the discussion we've had up to this point, there's no new issue the HAC wishes me to take to the CAG next week. Is that fair? Okay, silence is golden, so, okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Tom. And Jake, it sounds like you're finished with your report.
Yes, I
Thank
am.
you. Okay, HAC-ers, we are
Okay.
at the end of our, go ahead,
Yep.
Gabrielle.
I need to ask for general questions. People have
Yeah.
been.
So we've finished
General
the-
questions, type away.
We finished the agenda. We're open for public comments. According to the screen, there's 12 people online, and most of them are us. So there's those few of you who are still around. Go ahead and type in your questions.
Type in your questions. Stanley, if you're referring to the pergola or the gazebo type thing, if it's not permanent and it's patio related, it does not need a property improvement application. If it's patio related and not permanent. So, I'm speaking to HAC. Why is it that you keep, okay. I keep referencing your husband because I'm been repeating myself a lot. So, so again, Mary wants to know where to get signs for noise and COVID restrictions. This is why I don't give out my email.
Mary, call me.
Any other questions, anyone? We have set a record for being finished early or on time. Just to summarize, our next meeting will be November 19th, which is the week before Thanksgiving week. The CAG meeting is next week at 4, and the site authority meeting is November 3rd at 11. And with that, any other parting thoughts or questions? Otherwise, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
No property improvement requests?
None
Hang on a
tonight.
second.
Okay.
So Gabrielle, there are questions.
I'm sorry, per the ground sublease, so RVs are allowed, who made the change to the ground sublease? Or
The situation is with the RVs, okay, is that what we have done is made an accommodation for those people who have RVs and trailers, oversized vehicles, and we have made the accommodation by saying that they can park, to call the CAM office and let us know that what they're intending to do, what kind of vehicle it is, and we have designated that they can stay up to 72 hours, preferably less, but they can park along Santa Cruz Island Drive between Twin Harbor up to Kyler and along Channel Islands. And that is a reasonable accommodation for those people who have recreational vehicles.
Sorry, Stanley would like to know, are records subject to federal FOIA request regulation?
The what?
Stanley wants to know, are records subject to Federal Freedom of Information Act request regulations? I'm not sure which records he's referring to. Let me look up the chat.
I think federal refers to federal agencies, but the
Well,
state of California refers to state.
Yeah, let me chime in here, because I've done this multiple times, and we've had some community members as well. If you're looking for documents from the university or the site authority, there is an office at the campus that handles those requests. So if you have anything related to those kinds of entities, you can go through that office. If you want to know some federal regulation or what the FBI is doing somewhere, something like that, that's a whole nother matter. But there is a campus office for campus related records requests, and Jake can probably forward it to you. And I'm finding they're pretty responsive.
So people are continuing to ask, sometimes the ground sublease applies, sometimes it does not. What should I follow?
Can we give them each 3 minutes and can we unmute people here?
I would love that.
We can unmute
I'm
people.
just basically.
Yes. Do you want to?
Who wants a 3-minute speaker card? Raise your hand.
There's no, I don't have a raised hand ability.
No, the attendees, can't they raise hands?
You would, I don't have it. It wasn't put on, or I would have been allowing people to speak all along. Or certainly.
To answer that,
Mary, we're going to allow you to speak. Go ahead.
Hi, I just have a question about the fact that the ground sublease is all of a sudden being changed. I have a binder upstairs that I signed in 2006, and I try to follow it. I'm just wondering what happened to all of these rules.
Mary, I think what is going on.
So thank you, Kevin, but it sounds like we're having a back and forth, but thank you for the timer. Your colleague Linda did that to me at Rio School District too. Awesome. Okay, anyway, go ahead, Jake. I'm sorry.
Nice job, Kevin.
That one of the things that we've been doing is addressing specific situations. And one of the things that management does is, what is a reasonable
accommodation? So this is Jake's time, by the way, Kevin. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Jake, to interrupt you, but Kevin has the timer going, so it's actually your time because you're speaking. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
May I finish?
Actually, I guess she would be right. She gets three minutes to talk, and then.
Okay, so you talk for 3 minutes, Mary, and then I'll talk for 3 minutes, and
then
then
you can respond.
Okay.
Did you have more questions, Mary?
Actually, Kevin, thank you so much for asking. I would just like to say that I've been a member of this community since 2006. And I've been following the ground sublease, which I have in a binder. And I'm just a little concerned that there are some arbitrary decisions being made. As a fellow employee of Rio School District, you know that I believe strongly in equity. So I would just like to know, I would like to request transparency because I think that some things are being changed arbitrarily. And I have no problem with change. I know we all have to be flexible during this pandemic, but what I would like to ask is that we have some sharing and some communication about what is being changed and who is being given the power to change it.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to vote on it? Is it just something that Kennedy Wilson is doing? Is it something that the HAC members are doing? It's just very frustrating to send out a written request and follow the rules and wait to be told whether you're allowed to put something up and not hear anything but crickets back from you guys. Jake, thank you. He's the only one that responded to my email. So at any rate, that's all I have to say. I just would like to say
I have no idea what
the ground. So I'm still speaking, Gabrielle. This is my time.
Yeah.
I would just like to request that the ground sublease be part of a community discussion. Thank you so much.
Okay. Can I throw 2 cents in? As chair of the Rules and Regulations Committee, I am all for transparency. We have not made any changes to this point. We're addressing issues to refresh and update our rules and regulations. It's a common practice in nearly every HOA that exists. You look at what you have, you look at the environment, and you look at things that maybe need to be refreshed. So we plan to make this transparent, but one of the things that's difficult when you deal with things like rules and regulations is to let people vote, because we certainly can make open up things for public comment and so forth and try and balance that all. We have multiple members on the committee, and you're welcome to join and provide your input. Welcome all that stuff. But we're constantly trying to balance, as we have these discussions, the needs of the many, the needs of the few, trampling on individual rights versus the group, the community. So it's quite a balance. Please join the committee if you'd like. Love to have your input. We have made no changes. We don't even have the authority to make changes. We are just trying to recommend a refresh to rules and regulations, not the ground sublease itself, but the rules and regulations attachment to it. And bring ourselves up, 19 years worth of catch up. So.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, all the committees are open committees. They have been hard to operate during these times. We used to just get together in person and talk over issues, and it has been harder to organize those committees at this point. But then also remember, the HAC makes no decisions. We have zero authority at this point. The only thing that we do is try to help iron out the issues of the community. So rules and regulations, looking at inequities, and they're trying to determine, figure out answers to the questions regarding ground sublease or anything else like that. So, once again, Tom is just looking through that, posing questions, and really, we have no authority to change anything, or all we do is, make recommendations and try to gain the ear of side authority or other people who might listen to us.
No secrets, really.
So basically, yes, we are moving forward to how to provide clearer direction. And we, as the third-party agent for the site authority, are in conversation with the site authority regarding how to move forward with clarity. And that is something that is with the ground sublease. has some things are clear and other things that are clear or very much stated seem to be needing to be revisited based on where the community is today as opposed to where it was, when it was built. And so we are not enforcing things randomly, Mary. That isn't the point. And I think that part of if you would observe it, some of the activities are very gray as far as how to enforce them. And so we're working to move forward with adding clarity. And some of that clarity is based on experience that we've garnered over the last years since I've started here. And we are in a very unique situation that we have a university, we have a ground sublease, we have a site authority. This isn't an excuse. I'm just saying that there are many people and many parties that have a say in what's going on. And so we're working to thread that needle, and sometimes we thread it better than other times.
Look, if I could throw in one more comment, I'll pick on something, and hopefully I don't get people all riled up. But one of the things the committee was looking at was fire rings that are fired up with wood. So there's a concern, as everyone knows, fires have become a very big issue in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So we're looking at this, and there are potentially 4 governmental agencies that might regulate the use of fire rings here. We're not sure. There's a state fire marshal that we think regulates us, but there's also a county fire marshal. There's also a state air quality control board that regulates fire rings, and a county air control board, and then the HAC and then the site authority has potentially rules and regulations that could affect that. So it's complicated. We're trying to figure out what's what, but in the end, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but federal law trumps state law trumps county law trumps our site authority. That's a simplistic way I look at it. It's not quite right, but so that's how it works. So if you're trying to figure out what to do, you can look at our rules and regulations, but if it's not there, that doesn't mean there isn't some kind of requirement for you to exhibit some kind of behavior, because there could be some state law out there that covers it. And I can't tell you what all those are. It's, there's too many. So that's my 2 cents.
And Tom does this with his free time for our community.
Okay. Thank you for your comments, Mary. So where'd Chris go?
He's gone.
Okay. Okay. Are we done?
I'm hearing crickets, so
Okay.
I'm good.
So we want to close this at 7:32. Wow, that's impressive. Okay.
Okay, good night, everyone.
Thank you. And I'm going to stop the recording. Stop the recording. So if I stop the recording, is it going to record? Is it going to save it? Yeah.